Logansport, Indiana State Mental Health Hospital, run by the state of Indiana and Indiana Department of Children and Families. Before I begin, I would like to ask you for your full attention. I would like to ask if you please turn off your cell phone. Thank you. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Sarah Covington. I am a graphic designer. I am a mother of 4 daughters, Madeline, age 22, Alyssa, 19, Mackenzie, 14, and Michaela, 12. I am dyslexic, and I am a dyslexia tutor. I also homeschooled my daughters. I'm an artist. I am disabled with systemic lupus. I am pagan, and I am poor. Now, before I begin, I would like to inform you that I had been called and warned by my father, David Betcher, that my daughters were going to be taken from me illegally in 2016. I was then called again and told that I would be jailed and sent to Logansport for fighting DCFS and my ex-husband through the courts because I filed a federal court case. My father told me to roll with the punches and to file my lawsuit with the Supreme Court. What I am saying is everything that has happened to me was illegal and abuse, but it was pre-conspired and set up. My father wanted me to remember as much as I could so I could sue Logansport and help those who have had their lives stolen from them one day at a time without a conviction or a proper due process of law. There has been absolutely no adherence to the United States Constitution. My transfer to Logansport from Lake County Jail was not lawful. There was no warranted reason for the transfer, and it was an attempt at defamation in an effort to gaslight me and silence me so that my claims against the Department of Children and Family Services, multiple judges, magistrates, and federal justices, guards, and officers would be ignored. Now, the alleged court documents were not stamped as filed, and I was given nothing more than what was a petition, not an order, from a judge. It was signed by an attorney for the Indiana Department of Children and Families, which is one of the main defendants in my lawsuit. I had been a mother and a wife my entire adult life. I suffer from anxiety and depression on occasion. I do not suffer from any mental retardation, developmental delay, or mental or educational deficiency. I do not suffer from any psychological defects other than what I have already stated, i.e. the anxiety and depression. I had a perfect criminal and perfect traffic record before any of this started. If I suffered from a deficit or a psychological problem, I would not be able to function at the level that I do. I would have a criminal record, and there would be police calls on record of people contacting the police for assistance due to my behavior. There are none, not in any police department in any state in the entire country. I do not, nor have I ever suffered from psychosis or schizoaffective disorder. The diagnosis given to me by the Indiana Department of Children and Family Services equates to malice, defamation of character, and malpractice. I do not suffer from what I was told by my father during the telephone calls. It had been decided in advance what medications were going to be given to me, as he had given me the names of those medications, and what alleged disorders that the state was going to allege I had in an effort to deny me justice due to the illegal nature in which my girls were taken from me. I will say that many of the people at Logansport looked familiar to me. My father had claimed that they were persons who I had met on occasion, some of which were through my church. He also informed me that my ex-husband, Edward Malik, was behind it. Now, to learn more about my story and how my children were taken, please visit my site for details. I'm not going to get into that right now, as this is a video in regards to Logansport. You can visit sarahcovington.com for details about my story and everything else that has happened. Now, the purpose of this video is to explain to you a very real and serious problem of literacy that I discovered while at Logansport State Hospital in 2018. According to the state website, Logansport Hospital is composed of 2 service lines which provide care to adults with mental illness and or persons who are developmentally disabled. The Isaac Ray Treatment Center is an 88-bed, 4-unit forensic service line that serves male patients who are incompetent to stand trial, who have served their sentences with the Department of Correction and continue to need mental health services, or are found not guilty by reason of insanity, and those individuals with mental illness and severely dangerous behaviors. The Larson Treatment Center is an 82-bed, 4-unit service line that provides specialty programs of sexual responsibility programming, female forensic services for those that are incompetent to stand trial or who have served their sentences with the Department of Correction and require additional mental health services. Programs are also provided for individuals who require programming focused on cognitive skill building, a less restrictive environment, transition services, and continued stabilization. First, I want to point out the obvious. 1, most of these people have only been charged with a crime, not convicted of a crime. Second, in its own statements, Logansport and the state of Indiana has acknowledged that if you are incarcerated, which means you were found competent enough to stand trial and serve your sentence, but anyone feels that you need mental health, they can send you to Logansport over and beyond what you were sentenced. So, what that means is, you could be sentenced to the Indiana Department of Corrections for a term of 10 years for murder. At the end of that 10 years, if someone at the Indiana Department of Corrections feels like it, you can be sent to Logansport and kept there indefinitely. This is going to be of and beyond what your sentence would have been. Now, most of the people at Logansport have not even been convicted of a crime. They've only been charged with a crime, and they've been held at Logansport indefinitely. Now, this is being done without proper due process and without any regard for the rights of the accused who are the victims of what is going on at Logansport. Now, that's what the purpose of the Sixth Amendment is, to protect the innocent from being convicted and punished. The Sixth Amendment reads as follows: in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witness against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. None of this occurs if you are sent to Logansport. Now, the idea behind the right to a speedy trial is to ensure that the federal prosecutorial hammer is not held over someone's head for an indefinite period of time, and to prevent indefinite detentions of people accused of crimes. I'm going to repeat that, and I'm going to repeat it because it is so extremely important. The idea behind the right to a speedy trial is to ensure that a federal prosecutorial hammer is not held over someone's head for an indefinite period of time, and to prevent indefinite detentions of people accused of crimes. Logansport is a state-run hospital. However, It is a part of the Indiana Department of Corrections. Now, while Logansport is not an actual jail, it is a part of the Indiana correctional facilities. Now, you are in a restricted, locked environment, no different than jail. You are detained and in custody. You are deprived of liberty, and you are deprived of freedom, just like in jail. In U.S. versus Ewell, 1966, the Supreme Court stated that the provision is an important safeguard to prevent undue and oppressive incarceration prior to trial, to minimize anxiety and concern accompanying public accusation, and to limit the possibility that long delay will impair the ability of an accused to defend himself. Some of the women I met at Logansport have been detained illegally for up to 8 years. When I say illegally, I mean not in alignment with the U.S. Constitution. While in custody, the following constitutional rights have been denied to the patients of Logansport by those operating Logansport. The fundamental right to liberty. The Fourth Amendment, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Fifth Amendment. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, and to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. In suits at common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. For those of you who think that there is nothing that you can do because it would be representatives for the state that you would be suing, and you have been told that those persons are immune due to the 11th Amendment, you have been lied to. The judicial power of the United States shall not be construed to extend to any suit in law or equity commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States by citizens of another state, or by citizens or subjects of any foreign state. Which means, if I live in Indiana, I may not sue the state of Illinois. If I live in Illinois, I may not sue the state of Indiana. It does not mean that I may not sue the state of Indiana. I may sue the state of Indiana. Now, the amendment specifically prohibits federal courts from hearing cases in which a state is sued by an individual from another state or another country. Protecting states from certain types of legal liability is a concept known as sovereign immunity. Now, this only applies to the state itself, i.e., if you were to put on your paperwork the state of Indiana, you cannot sue the state. That's what we're taught. But that's not what the amendment says. From another state is what it actually means. Now, the amendment did not bar all lawsuits against the states in federal courts. For example, as initially interpreted, the 11th Amendment did not bar suits against states when a matter of federal law was at issue, or constitutional law, nor did it prevent suits brought against the state by its own citizens. If you reside in that state, you may sue that state. The 9th Amendment of the Constitution states that enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. In other words, no right that has been added to the Constitution can be utilized to erode our rights under the Constitution, which means the 11th Amendment cannot be used as a tool to disallow citizens from filing lawsuits in federal court when their rights have been denied or violated by any other person who is a citizen of the United States. When I say any other person, I mean any other person, including the President of the United States. The reason for that is the 14th Amendment, which I will go back to. Quickly. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state in which they reside. What does this mean? It means that we are all citizens and that we are all subject of the jurisdiction in which we live, which means the law applies to all of us equally, irregardless of job title, bank account, or ego. Now, you never lose your rights. Your rights under the Constitution are non-revocable. You cannot lose them under any circumstances. You keep your rights if you're accused of a crime. As a matter of fact, that's probably when they're the most important to you. Now, you keep your rights if you are convicted of a crime. They are still your rights under the Constitution. Until you are dead, you keep them. You keep your rights if you become a parent or if you are a parent. DCFS and CPS cannot erode your rights or take them away or deny your rights. You keep your rights if you are mentally handicapped. Again, each mentally handicapped person is a citizen of the United States and has rights. You keep your rights if you suffer from any kind of psychiatric problems. So if you're a patient at Logansport, you're still entitled to your constitutional rights. You keep your rights no matter what. No one can take your rights as an American citizen away from you. Not ever. Not for any reason. And I think that's the one thing everyone has forgotten. Now, if your rights have been denied or violated, then you have the right to file a lawsuit in federal court and request damages for it. If you're told and made to believe that you don't have rights anymore, then you won't stand up for your rights in court. Constitution and the protections of our our rights as citizens has been put in place to protect our rights. If no one protects our rights, then over time we will lose our rights, and our future generations will be left to live in a dictatorship. That said, let me tell you a little about some of the women I met while I was unlawfully detained at Logansport Hospital. Larissa. Larissa is a senior citizen that came to America from Syria. Larissa uses a walker to walk and must be constantly watched by staff because she is blind. Oops. Someone must watch Larissa 24 hours a day. Larissa has a family. She has a daughter who comes to visit her. Larissa looks frightened all of the time. Larissa does not seem to be mentally or psychologically unstable. Larissa does not seem to be a threat to society. Larissa speaks broken English. I don't think Larissa understands English fully. Because Larissa is handicapped, and there is a communication problem, she has been held at Logansport for approximately 8 years. Larissa was not found guilty of a crime. She was accused. I am unaware of what crime she might have committed. Honestly, I can't imagine. Larissa has a daughter and other family that she is being kept from on a daily basis while her life is being stolen from her day after day. Larissa often talks of something called moussaka, which is a dish that she wants to eat so badly. It is her favorite dish, and it is all that she talks about. Now, in order to leave Logansport, you must be able to pass the competency exam. The exam is a 100-question written exam. In order to pass the competency exam, you must be able to read and comprehend what you have been taught. Larissa has a difficult time holding on to things as her hands shake, which makes writing difficult. Larissa is from another country and is not fluent in English, which means Larissa will be trapped at Logansport indefinitely. Christina. Christina was accidentally shot when she was 3 years old. She sustained brain damage as a result. Christina is about 30 years old. Christina is literate. She is unable to read and write. Or illiterate. She is unable to read and write. I have worked with Christina one-on-one, and she is at a beginning level, meaning kindergarten, first grade. Christina has a father, aunts, siblings, and other family that sends her gifts and call her on the telephone. Christina has been at Logansport for 8 years. Christina is trapped by what is called a civil commitment to Logansport. Becca. Becca is in her 30s. Becca is heavily drugged. Becca has tattoos, which leads me to believe that there was a time when Becca could interact with people. Becca's life consists of sitting in a chair and mumbling loudly while her eyes are rolling back in her head. Becca is not taken care of properly. Becca can seem to walk correctly or cannot seem, to walk correctly or control her motor skills adequately. Becca is often left by staff in dirty, food-soiled clothing. Becca did not eat for a period of about 5 or so days while I was at Logansport. Becca does not shower daily. Becca cannot function on the medication that she is on, but was able to function enough at one point to get tattoos and to make the decision of what tattoos and where she would like them at. Becca has not been convicted of a crime. Becca will not pass the competency exam because she is unable to read and write. Becca is able to follow direction. Becca has been trapped at Logansport being drugged heavily for 8 years. She is stuck there indefinitely. Aurora. Aurora is a Hispanic woman from Mexico. Aurora loves to crochet, and she wants to go back to Mexico. But because she has not been found competent, She is trapped at Logansport in a vicious circle. Aurora has been trying to get sent back to Mexico by immigration for 8 years now. Kat. Kat is in her 20s. Kat went to high school and has a diploma. Kat can only read at around a 4th grade level. Kat will have a difficult time passing the competency exam due to her reading deficit. Kat has been kept at Logansport with her charges dropped. Kat has been at Logansport for nearly 2 years. Locking people up in state-run institutions because of developmental delays. Now, these are just a few of the people I met while at Logansport. However, I believe the problem is much larger than it just being confined to my unit, as there are other units in Logansport as well. Now, you have to keep in mind and remember that Logansport is not really a hospital. In fact, while at Logansport, you can't get a hold of a medical doctor or even see a nurse practitioner. What Logansport is a correctional facility. They've made it look nicer, but it is no different than jail. It is owned by the state, it is run by the state, and it is jail. You are in custody of the state. You are a prisoner. Now, being illiterate is not a crime, especially not one that a person should have their life stolen from them and forcibly kept in a state-run hospital as a result. Additionally, the state should not be locking people up in state-run institutions in retaliation of lawsuits that were filed in federal court because the state denied the rights of an American citizen and our children. Logansport is being misused. The people trapped there are trapped by the people who work with them every day and get a paycheck as long as the hospital stays open and there are patients to watch. They know that the patients are trapped because they cannot read. However, those who work there get a state paycheck, job security, and are paid a premium for what amounts to babysitting.